Hi, Julie Torrens here, shaking up the white gesso. How are you? I'm going to do a little housekeeping and explain to you what's coming next. So I'm just wetting my brush because I would rather not have the gesso just sink into the bristles, because then you just are kind of wasting product. So since I've got everything acrylic out on my desk, I'm doing a little housekeeping. Why am I doing that in front of you? Well, because many times I start a video with, okay, I've already gessoed this. Oh, how do you do that? Okay, there's the question. Here's the answer. When I have my desk set up for acrylics, and when I am using gesso, I grab all of my journals that I'm currently using and I see who needs a little gesso. I do. And that way my brushes are not being wasted with paint or stuff. Let me just set this in the drying rack. But it also is inspiring to me. Gesso is inspiring. Well, in a way, just in that when I grab a journal, maybe I'm just like, I know I should do some art, but I don't really exactly feel like it. If I open pages that are ready to go, that helps inspire me. Compared to, I don't even have anything gessoed, or I don't have any background started, then I'm just giving myself, and I'm not saying that that's how you are, but I'm just giving myself excuses to not get something done. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those stumbling blocks. So I'm just getting these journal pages ready for what? I don't know. Well, what if you don't want gesso? Well, plenty. I'm sure that your journal is the same as mine, with plenty of other things that you can do. Do you know what I mean? There's plenty of empty pages that do not need gesso, but again, when you see that beautiful white gesso, then you feel more like, well, yeah, okay, what am I going to do on this? And then you can start thinking about colors, or some magazine harvesting you just did, or maybe you just got a new set of Posca pens and you don't know what you want to do exactly, but you can get started right now. You just don't have that stumbling block. But if I didn't do this, then I would always have this step in front of me. Now, does everything I do have gesso under it? No. But a lot does that is in my journals. Because as you know, a lot of my journals are repurposed. I save them from the garbage. I sure do. Now, if you can't exactly see what's going on, that's because I set my camera up for the project we're going to do today. But I just wanted to show you, this is kind of my life as an artist process. Do you know what I mean? I don't have this happen by accident. It's thoughtful. Okay. Those are drying, and this is going to be our project for today. So, what do I have here? A pizza box. It's about 12 by 12. And I'm just going to start out with some white gesso. Do I know what I'm going to do? Not exactly, but I have a little bit of a feeling. But as you can see, I did rough this up by sanding it, wiped it down to get the dust off. Gesso dries fast, and I do know I'm going to do acrylic on top. So if it's not perfectly dry, that's okay. But there's a challenge. Yep. PM Artist Studios and their Facebook page, they have a challenge. It's not, I would say, an official thing, but a lot of people are doing it. And it is a white challenge where you just use white and you can use a metallic. So as I've always said, white's not even really a color. Neither is black. So I pulled my black out, and I've got my titanium white out, and I've got some gold. That's the metallic. I'll show you all that in just a moment. I can just tell now as it dries, it does become more transparent, but I'm just not positive I got as much gesso over there. Kind of like it evenish. Okay, let's get this in the frame. And as I say, it's about 12 by 12. And now this brush, I'm tempted to not throw it in the water, but other than gessoing, I really don't use that brush. Big, wide projects. Okay, so we're only 5 minutes in, and we've got 3 journals ready to go, and we've got our today project ready to go. Isn't that great? Yay. Okay, I'm sitting down. If you hear moaning and groaning, yeah, that's me. So, PM Artist Studios. Now, I'm afraid my light might be blocking it out. But what this company is, it's a mom and daughter combination, and they have lives on YouTube 3 times a week, and they make the most fabulous stencils and masks for mixed media art. It just is wonderful. They also have a Facebook page, so you can look it up, and their website is pmartiststudio, all one word, .com. So check them out. And as I say on the Facebook page, white on white is kind of the theme. The things I've been seeing so far are absolutely beautiful. So I'm just tapping this brush out to rinse it out a little more. That brush is very thirsty. And even though I wet it, it still grabs a lot of the gesso. And if I don't get it good and clean, then it's just going to turn into a solid piece. And we don't want that. I don't want that. So I'm just rinsing this out good, and that way it'll be here for another day. But this brush is from Dollar Tree, and it's in the makeup aisle. You know, there's a lot of cosmetic products that we use in mixed media. Go into that cosmetic row, because many times they have brushes made out of the same materials that artist brushes are made out of, with good metal like this one, or wooden. I think this is wood with metal, and you know, $1. And if you do forget it, or if it does get yicky, go buy another one. Okay, this is, at least on the surface, it's almost dry. It's not cured. So what I've got is this Martha Stewart gold. Now there's 2 golds. One is called gold and one is called yellow gold, but I felt like this one had the most punch, so I'm just giving it a shake. Then I grabbed my ivory black and my titanium white. So we've got those. I've got my gesso, you saw that. Got a paper plate and some cosmetic sponges because I plan to do some stenciling in all of this. Is it the only thing I'm going to do? To tell you the truth, I don't know. But I want to start out with a background, like a base color for this. So I'm just going to take my titanium white. And if you see something on here, there's a little piece of paper. We'll get that off. I don't know where it went. Oh well. That's a little blob of old dried up gesso, but it wasn't worth throwing this away. Now this is a very heavy body paint. It will go far, but I'm going to put a generous amount on there. I mean, white's the theme, right? Now, for this background, I've got 2 choices. I could either add a little, just a dab of that gold, because I want to make it a little off-white, or I could add just a dot of black to make it, again, an off-white. I think I'm going to go with the black, but I'm not trying to take away white. Although 1 drop of this in a 5-gallon bucket of white paint, the paint will never be the same. So I just, that's all. I mean, it touched the white, and let's just see where that gets us. I may need a little more. I don't know. We're just going to see. Nice big old square brush, making it wet because there's no sense in just losing paint up into the bristles. And let's see. There's the black. I don't know if you can see it, but it showed up. Yeah, a little bit more, little bit more. I want this to be, when someone looks at it, to say white. I don't want it to say gray. But until you see a very perfect white with it, it'll look white on its own. That's how much more I added. Plenty. Plenty. This is great. Okay, so I am going to put this in the background. Again, it is not like gray. Like if I saw this, I wouldn't say, oh yeah, gray. No, it looks white, but you'll see because this gesso is white. So there's a lot of color under that gesso. So perhaps this is still looking grayish, or maybe you don't see much of a difference, but you're just gonna have to trust me. And let's get some more. I may not have enough, that's okay. Can make some more. This is going on just like velvet because it's a good paint and it's very, very opaque, but also the gesso makes such a difference. Even though it's probably only maybe a quarter or a third dry, it makes a difference. Okay, back to my black. I grabbed it first. Small dot. Oh, plenty. And my titanium white. And we're going to add plenty more. Just like that. I may not even dig into all that black. I may just take part of it. I've got some, that's a little bit of black acrylic dryness. We don't need that floating around. I'm just cutting that in half and then seeing what I get. I can still see the color underneath, so I can, you know, kind of match it up. It needs a little more. That might be enough though. That looks pretty darn close. We're going with this. So I left about half of that black. So it just, you know, just a little bit of experimentation. Okay, finishing this up. Does it look different to you? It doesn't look any different to me. Now I realize you're a little bit far away. I made you, honestly, as close as I could so that you could still see it all, because any part you don't see, then I know. Couldn't see the top, couldn't see the bottom. I know. It's just such a, it's such a challenge how close to get you so you can see the detail, but how far away to get you so you can see the whole project. And I realize both are important. Okay. And I am not looking through my camera at this point. I was when I was standing up, but I'm not now, so I don't know exactly what you see. I don't see that till editing, which I do minimal of, as you know. All right, there's our start. This is a gray between you and I. It's gray background, and we're getting ready for white. And I used this up. I'm not leaving anything behind except for a little bit of black. Any place that I'm just seeing along the edge and here where I keep putting my finger. All right, I'm rinsing. This is not as much of a challenge to rinse this. I have 2 rinsing buckets, and that goes back to my watercolor time, which I still do watercolor, but when I saw watercolorists really explain and demonstrate the difference between 1 water source and 2, I was sold. I use it for both acrylic and watercolor. Okay, that's dry. This is going to need to dry a little bit. Right now, anything I would do would just stick to it. It does not dry as fast as gesso, and it's got wet gesso under it. So let's talk a little bit while I give this a quick dry. I ordered some stencils and masks from PM Artist Studios. I showed them in an unboxing, so that's maybe only 2 videos back. And I wanted to use them right away. And so when this challenge came up, I was like, okay, I've got the challenge, I've got my stencils, because I didn't have that many stencils to begin with, and my stencils were all pretty large. I love my stencils, I'm not going to get rid of them, but these are just a little bit smaller with a little bit more detail than, well, a lot more detail than what I have. It's a different style. It's a whole different ball game. So I've just about got this. When you're drying acrylic, which I'm not big on drying acrylic like this at all, but for the sake of the video, I'm doing it. If I wasn't doing a video, this would have gone right over to the side with those journals, and I would pick it up either much later today or tomorrow. But if you are drying acrylic with your heat gun, really keep your heat gun moving and don't have it too close, and just don't let it sit in one spot for any length of time, because the acrylic will bubble and burn. And once that happens, well, you know, maybe it's something you could work into your entire project, but it doesn't smell good, and you can't bring it back to as if it never happened. So I'm just kind of cautioning you with that. All right, we're going to call that dry enough. And let's take a look at these. Are the stencils that I chose. I realize you can't see me yet. Okay, so one of them I picked up was called Hexagonal Dream, and that is these. They are not mandalas, but they're almost snowflakey, kind of. Or the other thing that kind of reminded me of is quilting squares. So I had that little one, I have a big one, and I have a medium one. And these 3 all came in one set. And then I ordered these. And these are, for me, borders. And I love, on some of my pieces, to put borders. So there's this one that's rectangles. This one is leaves. This one is drops. This one is some cool little flowers, and then some more leaves. So I just thought those borders were sweet. Then they're so generous. They sent me one of these. Now this is from Carrie the Crafter, and it's a snowflake. I don't know the name of it. It didn't come with its name wrapped around it, but this one is Carrie the Crafter, and it's called Border Collection, and it's Style 1. So Border Collection Style 1, and these are the ones that are from Carrie the Crafter. I'll show you his. That's C-E-R-I, the Crafter. That's Carrie the Crafter. He's got a YouTube channel. Beautiful work. All right, so I'm putting all the little extras aside, and I'm just keeping out these stencils. How am I going to use them? To tell you the truth, I don't know yet. But let's get started. Now, I want to add some variance to the background so that it's not, and really this is all going to end up being a background. I'll probably cut it into tags or journal cards. I'm going to take my gold. Always shake your liquid acrylics. And I'm going to add a little gold. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some of my titanium white. I'm afraid to set this on here because I think it's still a little bit damp. So add some white, put the white over a bit, and then I can put your lids on. Then I can just take some of the gold, mix it up, and see what I've got. So I'm going to take about half of that gold and mix it into the white. That might have been too much, but I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it was just all on top. Okay, that's good. I don't want to have the pure white yet, and I don't want the pure gold yet. I want this to definitely be a combination. And I'm going to grab one of my cosmetic sponges. I'm just going to take the leftover paint from my brush and put it right on there. And I'm just going to set my brush aside. I'm not going to get it in the water. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to dab it around just to make another white color in the background. So it's not white. It's definitely got the gold in it, but you can see what I mean. And the other thing that my sponge is doing is it's creating a little bit of texture. I did put some wax paper underneath for this much acrylic work because it is hard to get off the desk. I mean, it's not impossible, but I have these under papers. I'm going to use them. So I'm just kind of bouncing this around, and I'm just going to make like maybe 3 areas of this. And the fact that it kind of fades out as my sponge dries out of the paint, that's fine with me. Okay, now a new spot. Now I believe you should be able to see at least most of what I'm doing. So what's on your desk? What's in your journal? Have you been working in your journal? How was your Thanksgiving holiday? If you're in the US, I worked. I had a delicious meal that was a surprise from my client that I take care of. His mom fixed me a plate from where they had Thanksgiving. So kind, so kind. So I did have a plate of delicious Thanksgiving, and I worked. And then I was supposed to be off yesterday, but my choice, I wasn't. The nurse that works opposite me was ill. Bless her heart. Ill for the holidays. I mean, really, poor thing. And so it was also my client's folks' anniversary. And they had reservations for dinner. And I didn't want them to cancel. So I picked up an extra day. So instead of doing my 3 nights, I did 4 nights. Won't kill me, but it's going to affect my video time, and that's all right. I mean, you understand, right? Tell me in the comments you understand if I have to be a nurse and I'm just not here as often as usual. I may still make it. I'm not sure. We've got today's video that'll go up. The white on white challenge. How is it looking to you? One thing I'm noticing is that the gesso seems just a little bit more like a, I wouldn't call it glossy, but more of a satin finish. And what I'm putting on now is definitely matte. So I'm getting the texture of my cosmetic sponge. I'm getting the difference in color, and I'm getting a difference in the finish. One is matte and one is, I'd say, kind of semi-gloss. So all of this makes a difference. I still have some more, and I have more space that I can put more on without completely covering it up. So I'm going to go up at the top here. I'll bring this down. It's time to move it anyway a little bit. So how many of you already have your holiday decorations up? Let me know. I don't have mine up yet. I'm not putting up a tree. Honestly, I don't have the room for a full-size tree of any kind. But I have some really nice Christmas decorations. They're kind of overflow from my son and daughter-in-law. And I'm gonna dude up the place. Just haven't done it yet. I wanted to be here with you, right? I'm just going to go right here in this corner because right now, all 4 corners were the original gray color. So I'm just tapping in a little there, tapping in a little more here. I still have another place, and I still have some more of this gold color. So I'm gonna put it just right here. You know, I tend to ignore edges and corners when I'm doing this type of adding on, and I don't want to be that person. I want to realize that my art goes from edge to edge, corner to corner. So I'm looking over. I got one corner that I put that on. I don't mind that. Maybe I'll just put this corner here, which is my left, has the most space around it. So I'll go ahead and put some of this up in this corner. All right, now it's subtle difference, but there is a difference. So I hope you can see it a little bit like I see it. And now we're going to think about what's next. I think what I want to do is almost the same as I just did, but I want to add more gold. And so bring in again another. So let's see. I don't want to, yeah, this is the white. I don't want to, look how the tubes are. White and black. And it is so easy for me to grab one for the other. But let's grab the white, add a little more, and then bring the rest of that gold in. But this is going to be more of a 50-50 mix. I want a little more, but not too much more. Okay. This is going to be like 50% of the titanium white and 50% of that gold. And let's bring these together. Definitely a different color, but I like it. And again, I don't want yet to add to my board any of the gold coming out pure or any white coming out pure. I want that to pretty much be the last layer. And we're going to need several layers. All right, I'm going to just take this combo, put it on my little cosmetic sponge here. And I'm not going to pay attention to where I already have it. I'm just going to start modeling again. It is a different color again. Definitely an off-white towards gold. I'm not seeing the sparkle, and I don't expect to because that titanium is so matte. So I'm kind of going over some of the places that just had the gray. I'm going over some of the places that had the first amount of gold, and now I'm adding a white with even more gold. As I work on different parts of this project, different areas, I'm hoping that if you can't see the difference in color in one section, maybe you can see it in another just with the variation of lights and stuff. It's a sunny day today, and I think it's just going to be cold. I mean, what is today? Maybe the 27th of November. I'm not sure. It's Monday. If it's not the 27th, it's the 28th. Let's see. Okay. I believe Thursday is the 1st. So Wednesday would be the 30th. Tuesday would be the 20th. Today would be the 28th. I believe it's the 28th. For me. I know this video is not going to come out that day. Maybe. Who knows? Okay, I can see I've got the gold, the darker gold, 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 gold. So I think I'm going to put some right in here. I do believe I will be cutting this up eventually. I can't imagine using a 12 by 12, you know, and it's too thick. It is cardboard. It's a pizza box. So I don't think I could like turn it into a folded up project, you know, maybe a journal cover, but I think this is going to be, I don't know, maybe card fronts, maybe a journal front, you know, like a placard in the front of a journal. We'll see. I think I have one more scoop in here, so I'm going to use it up and put it where it's pretty nicely evened up with this color. All right, that looks good to me. I'm going to give it a turn, and maybe you'll see a different view, and it will give me a different view, which is always a good thing, because especially where there's brush marks, sometimes it's just hard to see the brush marks in one direction, but if I turn my work, then I can see them in the light coming at a different angle. All right, so I think it's time to add some texture. I'm going to go with gold and white again, but I'm going to go with just a little bit more gold than I have. Not a whole lot, but I want to start adding some texture. You're going to have to forgive me. You know, mixed media, we don't always know what we need. I'm going to grab some bubble wrap. I'm not far. Ooh, I have punchinella too. I'm grabbing a couple things while I'm here. Now I'm a little skeptical about using this, because I bet that's a watercolor and I think it could turn my white a color. So I'm not going to use that. But this one looks virgin to me. So I think I'm going to use that. And my bubble wrap, this is all acrylic. So I'm not so concerned about it, although it could decide to give up some of that acrylic. So what I'm going to do is oh, sorry, I bumped you. Are you all right? I'm sorry. What I'm going to do is where I have this edge, I'm going to go ahead and just cut myself a piece off of there. Nothing's easy when you're making a video. There we go. There we go. Now this has acrylic, so we can use some of that. All right. We've got plenty. And again, what I'm looking at or looking for is just more subtle background with some texture. So, what's next? All right. I'm sitting back down. I'm going to go back with my titanium white. I'm sure you're tired of that word already. And even a little more of that gold. So that means even more than half and half. So maybe more like 2/3 gold, 1/3 white. The white's in there. It'll show up. The gold is just wrapped all around it. See that blob of white? There it comes. It would even be easier to mix this if I was using a palette knife, but I have a better chance of using a brush than a palette knife right now on this project. So that's why I'd rather dirty up my brush. All right, let's see if we can wring out some of this. And again, I believe it's a different color again. We'll see. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm putting the paint right on here. All right. So now some texture. We'll start out, I said bubble wrap, so let's start out with some bubble wrap. I don't really need, I'm going to start out with this because I've got this. I'm going to start out with some punchinella. And we'll just add some dots. And they're they're definitely a different kind of dot than when I'm going to be using the bubble wrap. I'm just going random. And let's see. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. And I mean, look, it definitely looks like almost a beigeish color. Let's not have this bouncing too much. If they're not perfect circles, if there's some paint that sneaks underneath, I really don't care. I'm just going for texture. Almost one of those, is there something there moments, you know? Is it there? Is it not there? Am I seeing something? Is there some dots? That's the kind of thing I want. All the way to the corner, Julie. All the way. All right. Yes, yes. I hope you can see it. Some up here. Wants to bounce. And I wanted to take it all the way to the edge. Okay. Yep. Yep. This is a project that is honestly all about the layers. This is what's going to make it or break it, in my mind. I didn't do my nails because I knew I'd be getting very acrylic up, and boy, that kind of wrecks my nail polish. So you're having to look at my naked nails. You'll get over it. Let's get some up in this corner. I'm fooling around a little bit with my underpaper. I still have quite a bit of this mixture left over. That's okay, because I'm going to add, I'm not sure now, either a little black or a little more gold. I've been ruminating over that as we've been tapping this on. Okay. All right. It looks good to me. Thank you, Punchinella. Now, I'm going to give it a turn again. And maybe what you couldn't see, you can see now. I'm not sure. And I'm not giving up on this paint, but I think I'm going to add black. And I even have a little bit of black right here. It's not dry yet. But, oh, I was going to say I definitely need more, but look at, you can see. And we've not used any pure white on this project yet. But as I'm changing color, the beginning colors are looking more white. Okay, I've got very little. I'll show you. Just a little bit. Because this, it's ivory black. Liquitex has more than one black, just like they have more than one white. This was called ivory black. And it's just the one I had. Wasn't saying in my mind that I definitely wanted ivory black. I just wanted a black. Okay, so we're back to more of a gray color. Really kind of a taupey color, which taupe in my mind is a combination of beige and gray. Okay, now putting this from my brush on here. This brush is really getting saturated with paint. That's all right. Now, I'm going to use this one. This is a potato bag. Yep. And this one, if you glob on too much paint, I'm going to dab off a little. It just comes out solid because the lines on it are so fine. And let's see. Look at that. And so far, we've been using supplies that I believe you may have. Acrylic paint. Punchinella, I don't know if everyone has some of that, but I got mine at the thrift store. It is sequined waste. And you can buy it in rolls. And when I found it at the thrift store, it was ridiculously cheap. A huge, heavy roll was only like $2.99. So I grabbed it. I can't even tell you honestly how much Punchinella regularly costs in a big old florist roll like I have. But I know it's more than $2.99. Yep. I'm liking this. The texture is definitely coming out. I'm getting more black than I started out with. I don't care. I think the variation is fine. And we're going to add a little more. Like I said, the main thing is I don't want is a pure, am I going over the same? No. I don't want a pure white or a pure gold yet. That's going to be my top layer. Okay. The reason why I'm doing such small areas with this is, as I said, if you let this bounce around a lot, if you use way too much paint, you just get a solid blob. You lose the lines. And I really don't want to lose the lines. Because it's texture that I'm really trying to go for here. All right, I'm going to give this a turn. This one and this one came out awfully gray. I'm going to go on top of that darker part and see if this, I think this is more the true color of what I'm using, and just see if I can soften that up a little bit. Yeah. I wasn't ready for something quite that dark. Always can be fixed. There, that's better. To me, it's better. You'll have to let me know what you think. I want to get some in this corner. Okay. All right, I'm happy with that. Maybe a little more here. And there's barely any paint on my sponge, and so that's fine. It'll be more subtle. All right. Now for the bubble wrap. I'm going to take this same color. I'm going to add more gold. Give it a shake. And this is going to be, I believe, the final layer of this background. I don't want this to be, again, too not, yeah, this might be getting too dark. I may add, maybe what I'll add, because it does lend itself with a little different finish, is instead of adding titanium white, I give it a few little dribbles of gesso. Now we know that the titanium has already taken away the shimmer of the gold, which is fine. All right, so I'm just going to take this bubble wrap. I'm going to go over where I have bubbles are on top, where I'm on the drop cloth here, and I'm just painting it with my brush to get rid of what's left on my brush. There's still plenty on my brush, but let's get this on. Gentle. And again, gentle. Yep, one more time. Gentle. Now, do you see how all of those are going sort of horizontal? That's why I'm going to turn my paper. And I'm going to fill this up again with what's on my brush. And do some more. Right here. Oop. I am not going hard with this. Gentle. You know, when I do rubber stamping, I'm just giving it as much strength as I can, not with this, because I really want this to be subtle. And whoa, you're putting it right on top of what you already did. It'll show. The underneaths do show. They may be very subtle, but they're there. And I am glad that I used a piece of bubble wrap that it's not depositing other colors. Sometimes that's a cool technique. And I've used that myself, where, you know, just let that, especially like with jelly printing, just let that happen where the old paint from your bubble wrap comes off on your project. But because we're so constrained by the color system here, anywhere that I am seeing pure gesso and nothing else got on top yet, I'm just giving it a little touch, just a breath, not a lot. Well, Julie, I don't even see anything coming off. It is, and I want it just that subtle. This is when a person will look deeper into what you're doing, you know? Wait, I think I see. What is that? And, you know, that interest is something that I'm striving for. Okay, now, this is looking very good to me. I like it. I'm going to bring it up to you, and I'm hoping that you can see just a little bit better what's going on. And I'm holding it here for a minute so that any adjustment in focus can happen. All right. Now, I hope I didn't, I'm going to peek. You're going to have to put up with me. Yeah, we're good. All right. Because I remember I jostled you. All right. Now, this has had just a moment to kind of dry. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the heat gun. And then we're going to start with some stenciling. Now, I have those stencils that are borders, but because this is going to be more cut up, we're not going to have those kind of borders, but I'm still going to use it just random. But I'm liking this. It kind of reminds me of in the, it might have been the 70s and the 80s, when men were still wearing white shirts to work. Well, they had these white on white. So it was a pattern of white on top of a white shirt. And I loved that look. I always thought it looked very elegant. All right, so what am I going to do with this leftover paint? Well, honestly, if I wasn't doing a video, I'd be grabbing one of those journals and just putting it on there. But it may not make it. We'll see. But I'm going to just go to I'm going to just set it aside, and we're going to start with a whole new one, because I really would like to now work in the white and the gold. And I think we're going to start with the white. And I think I'm going to start with either the medium or the large hexagon. Here's the, see how white stands up now? I think I'm going to use both, because this may really show up when I cut it, where this one is going to be more background. You know, it may not, it may cover an entire piece that I cut, where this will be doubtful. So I think it's going to be two different looks. So we're going to start with that. And I'm going to start with the titanium white. That's ivory black. Titanium white in all its glory. Now this is a mask. It's not a stencil. But I think I'm going to be using it a little bit more like a stencil than a mask. You know, a mask, you can even just take your brayer and roll right over it. But I think I'm going to be doing the pounce, pounce, pounce method. I'm cleaning my brush off, though, just in case I wish I could use it on the pure white or the pure gold. At least I'm going to get it soaking. And the cosmetic sponge, I'm going to change it out. And let's go with white. All right, just tapping in. This is going to take a little bit more because it is so thick of working it into the sponge a little bit. All right. I'll start with this big one, but I'm going to bring it right over the edge because I want to be able to get it. And these stencils, bounce, bounce, these stencils are made out of Yupo paper. So, but it's heavy, 70 some pounds. When you touch them, it is definitely hardy. And they clean up like a dream. Even if the paint dries on it. Now, I'm not recommending that, and you can always have a water bath handy. I don't, but you can. But the holes in this one are not super fine, so I'm not as concerned about plugging up the details. I do want to get a decent amount of paint on here, though, because that's what's going to make, I think, the white pop. I only have so many fingers, and I'm still bouncing where the stencil or the mask is coming right up. All right. It's subtle enough that I can't exactly see if I've covered every spot that I want to or not. If I'm giving it a second coat, I really don't mind. 2 thin coats is better than 1 thick coat. I'm sure you've heard that platitude before. But it's true. My fingers are as sticky as if I'm using a glue stick. Oh, I can see right here. All right, look. Yay! Can you see that? I hope so. Let's do it again. Let's do some right in here. I'm really, really happy with that. White, you are the star of the show. One of the things about challenges, and there's a lot of good things about getting yourself involved in a challenge, but one of the things about a challenge is it can really send your inspiration in an entirely different direction. I don't think I would have ever thought of doing a project like this, much less, and I know not the first time I used these stencils, because I had all kinds of different ideas in my head of how I was going to introduce you to my new stencils. But when I saw this challenge, I was immediately intrigued. And then when I saw what other people were doing, which if anyone did this, I didn't see it, but I wasn't trying to not do what they do or do what they do. I just like this idea in my mind. Okay, that's looking great. One more of this right up here. Again, I'm not so much concerned about, I'm going to give this a turn. I'm not so much concerned about the overall design. I realize that's pretty much what you have to see. But for me, I'm not worried about it because, again, I'm going to be cutting this. So I'm just kind of looking at it through my viewfinder, you know, just a section at a time. If I cut it here, will it be okay? If I cut it there, will it be okay? And honestly, so far, I think anywhere we cut it, it's going to be great. That's my goal. There's like little dove patterns in this that are so cool. I'll show you what I mean when I pick it up, because I realize I've got my whole hand over this. All right, let's pick this up. Well, let's not. Right there is one of those dove patterns. Here, here, here. They look like little flying doves to me. I thought I had more of this done than I did when I moved my hand. Then I realized I had only really worked on a very small section. It's an awful lot of paint, Julie. Be careful. Oh boy. Oh well. If it lifts and moves, it's all right. It really is. The heaviness of this stencil makes it so much easier than so many of those flimsy stencils that you're trying to work with and they're just moving all over. Yeah, I see the bouncing, but these other ones move a lot more. They just walk all over the page. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm going to set this one aside and I'm going to get the smaller one. And I'm going to give this a turn. And I'm going to use it in some of the areas that don't have any yet. So let me know in the comments what you think. And while you're there, consider subscribing. I am a new channel. I will be a year old in March of 23. And I'm trying my very hardest to reach 1,000 subscribers because, again, more doors are going to open up for me, like live streams where I'd have an opportunity to talk with you directly. I would love that so much. We can just expand our channel in so many different ways. Yes, it's the door to monetization, but it's the door to so much else as well. Live streams are what's on my mind, just because I'd love to make an appointment and spend some time with each of you. All right, that looks good to me. Over here, I'm going to add some. And this is pure titanium white. We can't get any whiter than this. My fingers are really sticking. It's all right. That's the joy of it, I promise you. Yep. It's looking great to me. It looks like an elegant tablecloth maybe, or a beautiful blouse. White on white kind of a design. That looks good. I think I'm going to just put a little bit right here. Maybe I should turn it again. I realize now you can't see the top of it, but I think you can see my hands a little bit better. My messy old hands. So we had that snowing in, and that was a week ago. That's all, just a week ago was the big snow. Well, today's Monday. There was the big snow was done. I mean, Monday was our first day of not having major snowfall. And then on that Monday, it was 40 degrees. So then we had the major melt. But then at night, in the evenings, it started freezing again. So now we had ice. So yeah, it was quite the challenge. But where I live, that's all part of it. All right, I see just one more space that I'm going to put some. And I see the overall pattern. I hope that you do too. And even though I'm using two different size of masks, the design is so blendy that it looks like it's all the same, and I love it. I love it because this is one of those things that makes you love it and you don't know why. If you didn't watch me do it, you wouldn't realize that we've got like two different sizes of the same pattern. And that's why it goes so well, and yet it looks like there's variety. Yep. And I've just about used up my titanium white on my paper plate. So that's another sign to me that we've done well. Okay. Oh, Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. I think it's gorgeous. Now it's time to add a little gold. That's going to be our creme de la creme. I've got this little one that's going to be finer detailed. Now the gold paint, I'm going to turn this again. The gold paint is a little bit more fluid, so I'm going to have to be even more careful when I'm stomping it, because it will tend to seep under the details. So I've got that one, and then maybe I've got these leaves, I've got these flowers, teardrops, smaller leaves. I think I'm going to go with the bigger leaves. Yes. And I'm just going to be putting them here, there, here, there. All right. Oh, I'm excited to see what this is going to look like. All right, let's get some gold. Maybe I'll give it a shake. Make sure the binder is well mixed in. And here's our gold. Okay. Now, where to start? Maybe I'll start down lower and then turn it, but I feel like I have the most control when I have it closer to me. And I am not going to be going for a complete, let me see how much is, there's too much paint in that. I'm not going for a complete design, but we're just going for some overall pattern. All right, so let's just see how I'm going to get a little on here. And I'm even going to be testing it like this way to make sure I'm not, hopefully, making sure I say it with such assurance. I have a couple of places here where the holes didn't punch out, and and that's totally normal. I don't care who stencils or masks. Those little details, sometimes you just have to help them along. All right, here we go. A little more. I'm going to move my fingers to the outside. And move my fingers more to the left side, a little more paint. This is where the statement, 2 coats is better than 1, really comes into play, because you don't want everything migrating under your stencil. It can be a cool look. I certainly wouldn't say if that happens, throw it away. Never. But I think you might be happier with the results. And I believe that for myself. So that's why I'm going for, yes. That looks pretty. Okay, let's do another one. I'm loading up my little sponge here. Let's do one more like this. It is easier, at least feels like it to me, to keep control on the mask that's smaller. Suppose that's just common sense, but it just feels like it's willing to be flatter against the work. I can always add more gold in so much as to my palette here. So I don't want to be stingy, but I don't want to be sloppy. Okay. Look. Isn't it gorgeous? Let's put another one in. Okay. maybe I will do it like this. All right. Oh, I'm tickled with this. I really am. I'm getting off of another one of those little dots. I'm really tickled with this. I like it. I'm going to add, because again, I'm going to be cutting it. So I want to add more places. Now, every one of my cuts doesn't need to look alike. So it's not what I'm going for. But sometimes after I cut it, I do think to myself, I wish I would have had a little more of whatever I was doing in that spot. That does happen with me from time to time. So, and you know, again, I'm up here in a corner because that's where I tend to forget. Get the corners, get the edges, don't lay everything in the middle. Okay. That looks great. Okay, let's get some of those leaves going. Is that what I decided on? I think so. I'm going to get some more gold paint. And here's those leaves. It's sparkly. Look at those leaves. Let's put some right over here. I don't know where to put my hands. I'm sorry if I'm blocking everything. It's not my intention. This has a nice heavy border around it. And so it is so easy to get the stencil without getting over the edge so that it looks like, oh yeah, she used a rectangle stencil. You know what I mean? You just want the random leaves. You don't, I don't know how to do this, but you can still see. Oh boy, that was jumping around. Okay. Oh, I hope you can tell by the sound that I like it. I think I'm going to turn this now because I think I have all the points of the leaves heading in the same direction. Now I've changed the direction. And Carrie the Crafter, if you're watching me use your stencils, I'm going at a little bit of a diagonal here with it, but I feel like the pattern is random. And so it also feel like with plants, organically, they do shoot in angles. So I'm not as uncomfortable with it as I am when I'm like laying down my music note paper or book page where I have everything either horizontal or vertical. See, I'm just liking that so much. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this challenge. Is it something you're willing to do? If you do, I want to see it. you can add pictures to our community page. So lay them on me. I want to see. And let the others that are our faithful friends that are watching my channel, let them see your accomplishments too. These things are very inspirational. Even if it didn't turn out the way you saw it in your mind, that we don't know what you saw in your mind. We just know if we like it or not. And I just can't imagine that we wouldn't like it. All right, I'm liking that really, really well. I'm going to add some right here. I'm hearing a siren, like the tornado sirens. Now, there's no tornado. And it's not the first of the month. So I don't know. I think our fire department here in where I live is part volunteer and part full-time workers. So maybe it's calling volunteers. I doubt it's an air raid. Okay, I'm turning it, and I'm going to add some more of these leaves. Hey, PM Artist Studios. I'm going to be treating myself to some more of these because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, I've used stencils literally for years. Good stencils, expensive stencils. Oh, I may have bought them on clearance. However, that doesn't change the quality. And they weren't cheap to begin with. I mean, to me, one stencil for, $15, $18, regular price. That's not cheap. And if you spend $15, but look for yourself, but if you spend $15 at PM Artist Studio, for the most part, you're going to be walking away with more than one stencil or mask. Now, they may have some gigundo ones that cost just that much. I don't know. I like a lot of little, usually. I have some bigger stencils for my bigger journals, but I'm tending to like the small. I really am. All right, little more leaves? I think so. I'm going to put some here. Yep. Okay. Now, changing gears. I'm going to bend over. Sorry. Reaching there. Okay. I'm going to be putting some more of this on the white spots. And I think this is going to give us, again, a totally different look. And if there's the leaf pattern or already some hexagon, I'm going to go right over it. And again, what I'm using now, this is a mask. It's not a stencil. But I'm using it more like a stencil. But I just love it. That siren just stopped now. That's how long it was going. And I mean, that's as long as I was aware of it. It's probably going a little bit longer than that before my brain said, hey, you got a steady siren going. Oh, yes. Yes. Very nice. Let's get some up here. The other thing that could be that whine, it could be a piece of machinery. There's a lot of construction going on near me. So it might be a piece of machinery. No telling. Glad they're doing it now, though, not in the middle of the night. Which you say, well, Julie, who would? When you live in Detroit, it's not that they're unkind, but to avoid big traffic snarls, they will do major road where they've got to shut down a lane or two at 2 in the morning. And we put up with the noise there because we know we want to go to work in the morning. We want the lanes open because it can change a commute from 20 minutes to an hour just that quick with one lane down. So I do say that because I've experienced that. Okay. I see just a little bit more space here and here that I want to work on. I need a little more gold paint. That was just half a shake. Oh, look at my hands. I love it. I love it. Okay. This was just a smaller space. Oh, I can see. It wouldn't hurt to get some right here. Now that I lifted my hand from it. Okay. Yes. And then I'm going to turn it. Okay. Look at this. A whole, maybe you can't see it. This whole section is white. So I'm going to add some here. It doesn't have to all be changed, but some of it. I realize this video is getting long, but it's worth it. Hit the subscribe. It'll be easy for you to find me the next time if you have to go and finish watching it later. But it's worth it. Even that really helped this not look so stark. There we go. This is going to be more subtle in this corner, but that's okay. Yeah. A little bit of high, a little bit of low. That's a good thing. All right. Just a little bit over here. And then I think I'm going to call this layer done. Okay. Well, I think it's pretty beautiful. I really do. A little bit of congestion right there, but when I cut this out and we add ephemera, it'll be fine. All right, now, should we put some white on top? I say yes. And maybe that's one way we can work with that. I am just going to grab the smallest and I want to add white. I want to start there. All right, let's get some white. I've got a lot of gold. I'm going to see. Want to see Julie make a mess? I'm going to see if I can just scratch. I don't think so. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, that helped. I mean, yeah, I got some on the outside of the jar. I'm not worried. I got a lot inside the jar. There. No one will know. Okay, get the white. I'm just working it down to the bottom of the tube. Pure titanium white. I'm not putting very much because I don't think we need very much, but I'm just going to add, especially in the places that the gold got a little carried away. I'm using the white sponge I was using before. It's still soft. Okay. Well, it's there, and it really did break up the gold, but it's not making a statement on its own. But I do like the results. And like right here, I see just an awful lot of congestion of the gold. I'm going to add white on top. Yes, that works great. All right, where else? Do you see one? Are you shouting it out to me? I'm going to turn it because I can't see all areas the same. See, like all this, I don't want to touch it. I added one here. I think I'm going to add a little right here. I may have turned that over. Let's keep going the same way. I mean, no sense in getting acrylic paint on both sides. All right, folks. I'm setting down my sponge. I think this looks great. I'm going to bring it up slow. So I'm hoping that you can just see it a little bit. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I'll bring you along if you'd like when I cut it up to make some fancy little cards, maybe some thank you cards. In the meantime, here's Messy Hands Julie saying, please like, subscribe. It helps me so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.